Morning, everyone. Welcome. A beautiful sunny day. Winter and Diwali are approaching. Everybody is in celebration. Deepavali, the row of light. Ancient Indians had discovered this celebration of the Mother Kali and the Deepavali is actually the celebration of the awakening of the 7 chakras of the body, the row of light of the 7 chakras on the spine. And as you see, the days of the celebrations are also supposed to be awakening of those chakras symbolically. So, beautiful time, welcome. Let's have a little session. We have some questions. Should you have any questions, do not hesitate. The blessings of the Vedanta that it has dawned upon us by the divine grace come in more fruitful and meaningful when we actually listen, and in the listening, the knowledge is already attained in the listening. And then comes the mananam. In the mananam, we've got the knowledge. All right, you're saying, I'm Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, I understand that. But in mananam, what happens then? The doubt comes in, not in mananam. Mananam clears the doubt. And what is the doubt? Is asambhavana. How can it be? I am such a small, God is so great. How can I be Brahman? How can I be consciousness? And this parallel ego and the complex comes in because we are all the time aligning ourselves with our mind and with our body. Nama, Rupa, Bhavahara, name, form, and function. Form, mind, name, function. And because of which we think we are so small. It is the same analogy of the wave thinks I'm so small. That wave is so big, tsunami. And this wave is small. They haven't studied in the school. That's why they remain poor and small. I am okay. I'm doing all right. This is because, again, the name and the form and the function, mind and the body. That's what we are primarily aligning. We forget we are not that wave. We are the water which has appeared as this wave. It is the consciousness which has appeared as us. So this understanding brings in from asambhavana in the mananam back to that confirmed firmly, I am, I have no doubt. And then comes, still there is viparita bhavana. The body and the mind concept does not go away. Every time we try to align and we flip back, because right from existence in this earth, from the time we are born, we only align ourselves with the mind and the body and the form. So viparita bhavana, every time we are consciousness, we flip back to body and the mind. Every time we are relating, talking, relating with other people, always with that body and the mind. That goes away from nididhyasana. Remember the recollection of the ni? Ni is, it means nididhyasana. It's a strange word. Ni means nishchaya, without any doubt. Once you practice nididhyasana, it is not possible that it will not happen. It may take time, depending on yours and my karmas and how we have grown up to this stage, but it will. Nishchaya and dididhyasana, like jigyasa is asking question, pipasa is like being thirsty, nididhyasa. That dhyasa means a craziness, an eagerness, like thirsty, pipasa, dhyasa. I want to meditate, I have to meditate. I have an obligation to do this meditation to myself, to the supreme cosmic for which I'm here. Let us start with our salutations to the Supreme Divine Mother within us, the Brahman within us, the Gurudevas who are within us in their consciousness and everywhere around. Sarvapyapi Anantam Advaitam. Sarvapyapi, present everywhere, not limited by body, like I'm sitting here, I cannot be sitting with you. But the Gurudeva, the Divine Mother, Babaji, Krishna, they're everywhere. They're with you and here right now. They're with us always. You know the famous, you keep seeing in the TV 24/7. 24/7. All we have to do is become aware. And salutation. Being aware, being respectful, with Shraddha, respect. I know you are there. I am not understanding. I am in trouble. I am suffering. Tell me, do something. And that doing something progressively, you will see that you are the doer. You are the doer, doing it through you. And this is what it meant, that the infinite possibility which is within us, we do not realize it. So everything that we have witnessed in the past, which we have experienced in the past, and everything that we could possibly witness in the future, nothing, they are nothing compared to what is we can witness within us. So discovering this witness is the focusing, is our life journey. And the moment we discover that, the moment we realize that we have come to the Nididhyasana, the knowledge has come, Viparita Bhavana at the Nididhyasana and Asambhavana at the Mananam. We blocked all three blocks and go into what Buddha said eventually, I am the awakened one. I know who I am. This is our journey to that being aware. Let us start with a prayer. Om. Asato ma satgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotir gamaya. Mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Param Guru Babaji, Mahavatar, Kalpa Yogi, Deathless Master. Hold our hand, take us from unreal to real, from ignorance to bliss, death to mortality. Through Krishna, Yogakshema, Baham Baham. To the Divine Mother, to our Gurudeva, blessings and protections, Paramahamsa Yogananda, Sri Yukteswar Giri Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Sri Vivekananda, Holy Mother Sharada, Paramahamsa Ramakrishna. All the saints of all religion, gods and gurus, bless us all so that we may learn in this session and continue to learn till we attain that oneness. Jai Guru. Today we shall take on the session of the infinitely possible, that journey which we are continuously, this one, yeah. So this understanding the Vedanta, what is Ishvara? We talk about Ishvara is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is isness. Isness. Chit is the awareness, is the consciousness. And Ananda is the Purnatya, Purnam. Infinite is Purnam, no limit. When there is no limit and you realize you're in no limit, you are in Ananda, which we say joy, happiness. You're always in that bliss. Now, this isness awareness is the journey of the Brahman. Brahman is giving us the property from Brahman is given to the isness, existence. We believe I exist and my grandfather doesn't exist. Why? Because we associate with my body and the mind. My grandfather is dead and gone. We say gone. No, he does exist. Only thing is, body is not there. His consciousness is become. It is like the wave in the ocean has chosen to be calm. The wave doesn't exist, but the water which appeared as, it's an appearance as. It is this awareness, isness, awareness, appearance. Appeared as the wave is there and will continue to be there. It may choose to become a bubble or a froth. It may choose to appear as a bigger wave subsequently. It may choose to become a water spray. It may choose to become a vapor and become cloud. It may choose to become rain, the same water content. Remember our earlier discussion, Alexander the Great example, which we had talked about. The water that you're drinking just now, you may have taken bath in that same water 30 days ago. Or Alexander the Great may have drank the same water 2,000 years ago. This is the understanding of the water, not just the content, but that isness. And our consciousness with that, we proceed, we are talking about this is that consciousness, is everything. And it is so everything. Today in the world over, I'm going to share, I am thirsty. I've given you all some of the very special philosophers, scientists, psychoanalysts in the world who are currently actively doing research. We'll share their names. Please feel like, pick up those books, read something in the internet, whichever way. This, Dr. Wayne Dyer is saying, the limits that we put in ourselves is actually the limit that we believe in, nothing else. It's just what we believe in, what our understanding, and believing is a function of mind. Understanding, realization, they're all understanding, they're all in the mind. So when you realize, when you attain Bodhisattva, who attains it? Is the consciousness attained it? No. It is not the body attains, not the consciousness. It is the mind again. It is the mind which was ignorant about it. The awareness, now the mind becomes aware. So the enlightenment takes place, samadhi brings you to that understanding through to that same mind. Recollect this little diagram. I had made it out for our discussions. You notice this on the left-hand side with the C is the consciousness, which is responsible for everything that you and I perceive in the world. The world that is there with us is because we are conscious. If I'm in coma, nothing exists for me because I cannot perceive. The five senses which are here bringing in the world through the eye, nose, ear, touch, and taste, etc. And the body. To, let's say, the eye. I see an object. I see a rose. I see the mountain. I see a dog. The light falls onto that. Dog doesn't enter my eye. The light falls on it, enters through the cornea, through the optic nerve, sends tiny, tiny electrical sparks to the brain. And from brain, through the neurons, they make connections, make synapses. Two neurons making a connection makes a synapses, makes it permanent, makes it knowledge, understanding. Knowledge comes from consciousness and an object. Just revising. Remember subject and object. Object, anything which I experience is object. Anything I have experienced by anger, jealousy, greed, love, big-heartedness, they're also object as per Vedanta. I experience my mind dreaming as per Vedanta is also a function of the mind, and it is an object. And normal material object that we're seeing in the world, everything is an object. Object with consciousness, two together is an experience. Knowledge and experience are different. Recollect again, knowledge is permanent. Knowledge doesn't go away. Experience has got a beginning, has got an end. When I attain samadhi, it is samadhi is in our relationship, any experience of eating, drinking, sleeping, has got a beginning, has got an end. But attainment of the samadhi, notice the action, the act of the samadhi has a beginning, has an end. But the knowledge gained through the samadhi is permanent. Whether you do it through Patanjali Yoga Sutra, or you go through Shaivite principles, or you do it through Vaishnavite, or do it through Islam, or through Christianity, become the desert lords, or you do it through Kriya Yoga, or you do it through the Advaita Vedanta, or you do it with Advaita, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhasanam, and Kriya Yoga, like what we're doing. Once you attain that, it is permanent. And from that, recollect, the brain sends now, the synapses sends tiny electrical messages to the mind as an image. How does that happen? Western world cannot understand, but they're doing a lot of studies, a lot of writing. I'll share a few of the names, and the authors feel like doing some reading. It will be very nice, discovering to the mind. But the mind cannot do anything if I'm unconscious, if I'm in coma. Mind is there. A guy with coma also has got mind, isn't it? Unconscious guy, deep sleep guy also has got a mind. But it is inactive because the consciousness is not there. So now the consciousness throws in the light like this reflective consciousness and enlightens the mind. The mind gets the energy of the light through which it perceives which senses have sent to the body, through the eye to the brain. And then mind says, I understand, this is a mountain, this is a dog, this is a rose. This is how we are gaining this experience and the knowledge. This consciousness is like the sun falling on the moonlight. Remember, a little while ago, we had discussed this, recollect, refresh. It's something very nice. Even when I'm talking, I feel so good about these. Reminds my mind again and again. Sun falls on the daylight right now. Beautiful, bright sky. So we perceive the world. At night, it's totally dark. But if it is a full moonlight, as the moon is visible, the sun's light falls on it. I cannot see the sun. So in this case, I cannot see the consciousness. But being aware, the awareness tells me it is because of the consciousness, because I'm knowledgeable now. I'm an Advaita Vedanta student, picking up pebbles of knowledge on the way. And this moonlight now falls on the earth, and we receive that knowledge of seeing something. But we never connected that the moon's light is not moon's own light. We know it. We have studied it. If somebody asks you a question, you will remember to tell. But consciously, we are not aware when we see what a beautiful sun, moonlight, we don't say, oh, it's not moonlight, it's the sun's light. And the third part of the understanding, what happens when there is a lunar eclipse? When there is eclipse in the moon earlier was, sun was falling on the moon was throwing the light onto the earth. When the lunar eclipse, moon turns itself to the sun. Earlier it was turned towards earth. Now it turns towards the sun. Now the sun's light, consciousness, light calls onto the mind or onto the moon. Understand, simultaneously. The moon has turned it back. Instead of sending it to earth, it sends it back to sun. But we will not say moon is now lighting up the sun, because the moon's light is so tiny, and it is the sun's light itself which is coming in and going back to moon, going back to sun from the moon. So what does happen? What is that status? Consciousness, moon is the mind, and it is turned towards the consciousness, totally aware of the consciousness. And this is the time I am aware of the consciousness. And notice what is happening. I have turned, I am the mind, I am that moon. I have turned towards the consciousness, the sun. The earth is left behind. The samsara is obliterated. But when I turn back, I am not, when I come out of the samadhi, I have not forgotten, let's say my disciples or my Paramahansa Ramakrishna could not forgotten Vivekananda or Rakhal. They're back again. The wave, which became the ocean, became the ocean, not part of the ocean. It was a part of the ocean when it was a wave. The moment it became one with the ocean, the moment the mind becomes one with the consciousness, you are the consciousness, you are the ocean. And the wave's depth now is the same depth as the ocean's depth. And it's sarvabhyapi, that end of the ocean to this end of the ocean. You cannot say that this was that Robbin Ghosh wave, and that end of the ocean and this end of the ocean. Everywhere. So where are you then? When you attain and when you're taking up the journey towards that, you are everywhere. Sarvabhyapi. You are Anantam, you are Purnattam, you are infinite. And Anandam. Sarvabhyapi, Anantam is the status. And this is what we express our Gurudeva, Divine Mother, God. That means the Brahman. And that means Aham Brahmasmi. Tat Tvamasi is what Shvetakapi is telling. So this is Evan Thompson. Evan Thompson is a philosopher, and he has written this beautiful book called Waking, Dreaming, and Being. A wonderful reading in which he's talking about that study of the consciousness the Western world has taken up just a few years back, 30, 40 years back. He says, whereas in India, consciousness study has been for thousands of years, and it has been done through Upanishads. And he's saying Upanishads are so important. He's writing in this book, it is so important, it'll thrill you to, when you read it, the Western-minded, fully capable, sensible mind, the people of the top honor is saying, instead of marking our history as AD and BC, we should mark not BC, say before Upanishad, and not AD after Upanishad. It should be the Upanishad time, and this is how the powerful they're talking about, even Thompson. And this is Christoph Ghosh. Christoph Ghosh has also studied in the quest of consciousness, and there are many of the life itself, of the feeling, many. He's written many. Christoph Ghosh, he looks very young. He's about 63, 65 years of age. And Christoph Ghosh is saying, do you know how important is consciousness? He's asking. And this was a talk in Harvard to the divinity school. He was giving that talk. He says, do you know how important is this? Supposing I give you $1 billion, that's about 75,000 crore. Now, it would be 7,500 crore of rupees, $1 billion. And I give it to you. It's yours. On one condition, I will take your consciousness. Who will agree? In Harvard, everybody smiled and shook their head. That's how powerful the consciousness is. And we are, if you look carefully all around, you are now taking up the journey, you are well aware, you're consciously thinking, you are different. But look at the people around. We are not conscious about our consciousness. And there's a beautiful statement, even Thompson in the book previous, Waking, Dreaming, Being, in which he's saying, he's given another statement, a beautiful slogan. He says, being aware of being aware. Being aware. I am aware that I am aware. I'm conscious. I'm conscious. Reflect on it when you meditate on it, when you're through the day, when you're leading your life. Continue to think about it, being aware of being aware. And this is Ned Block. Ned Block is a senior scientist, philosopher, psychoanalyst of New York University, NYU. He's explaining why I'm referring him, several of his books, including Blockheads, reading. He's talking about, do you know why consciousness is so important? He's explaining. He's saying, supposing you don't know much about your heart, or we have not discovered much about kidney, or let's say some genetical code we have not discovered. He said it doesn't matter because it is not affecting your life. You don't know anything about kidney or the liver. All right, you take whatever you're supposed to do, lead a normal life, take precautions. It's not affecting you so much. And you know that give or take 10, 20, 30 years from now, some doctors, some scientists will discover this hidden secret in the genetical code of the kidney or the liver, and I'll come to know. He said, but if you are not conscious, and if you know nothing about consciousness, you're living the life of an ignorant fool. You are suffering. And because of this suffering, primary things happen. I have no doubt that again and again Vedanta is telling, suffering is because of separation. We suffer because we are separated. And why are we separated? I say, I'm Robbin Ghosh, this body. This is me, name and form. This is not you. That is your house. This is my house. This is your body. This is my body. And this separation causes all the suffering. And oneness alone, that is, body is separate, mind is separate, all right, I know it. But I know we are one. I'm this wave, you're that wave, you may be big, you may be small, but I know we all are water. And this is called separatedness to the journey to oneness. And these things do happen when you take away from your life those impurities of mind, which you are doing, Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhasanam, through the Kriya Yoga. You're practicing continuously purifying. Take an ink pot or a milk pot, you put it under a tap. You haven't brushed it and washed it or soaked it. You just put it under the tap. Let the water keep running. Don't worry about the water waste. It's just an experiment. You will see after 20, 30 minutes, that jar is almost crystal clear. Almost crystal clear. Why that almost crystal clear? That water is our kriya, is our abhyasa, is our pranayam, is our meditation. And that little bit is the Divine Mother's blessing, is our Guru's grace. That takes us, gives us the eternal journey. And this is Lady Winifred Gallagher. She's a Canadian and she's written this book called Wrapped. learning to be in life, and she's talking about attention and focus in life. That is a mind function. It's not a consciousness function. Consciousness is certainly enlightening through the reflective consciousness, the mind, for the mind to do it. But it is the mind function, and each mind is different. Each intelligent, buddhi, memory, ego are different from everyone. But consciousness is one. And this understanding is a big fight between Sankhya and Advaita. Sankhya says, how can it be? There are all different consciousness, different mind, and we all are different. So Advaita says, why do you say that? He said, why not? You look at it. If one consciousness, that means when you have woken up, everybody should wake up in the whole world. Why should somebody be sleeping and you are? So Advaita answers it, that is very simple. As per your definition, that function of the waking, dreaming, sleeping is a function of the mind. It is not the consciousness function. So the mind is waking up, some mind is sleeping, some mind is awakened, some mind is enlightened, some mind is dumb. It's the mind function. Some mind has studied, some mind has not studied. He said, then why can't I tap into consciousness as one? I should be able to tap into whatever my guru knows. He has done all his studies and research and meditation. As soon as I come, like a hard disk connecting to the hard disk. So the modern scientists, philosophers are telling, yes, but you know what? Hard disk to hard disk is the mind to mind. It is again, the knowledge which has been gained, it is gained by the mind. It is not by the consciousness. Consciousness is ever pure, ever enlightened. It is never can be trained or can be taught. It is always awakened. It always knows. It's infinitely enlightened. So it is the function of the mind. So by your definition, Sankhya, Advaita is saying, it is again the mind function. So like this, Advaita gives the beautiful answer. Gives an example. In the ancient time, they've given this answer, which came to me beautiful. And I got another answer. I'm sharing with you. The Advaita goes ahead and tells, this is Shankaracharya is, as a commentator, he's giving this answer. He said, take, we buy in Diwali time those lamps with holes in it, and you put a lamp inside, and if it is dark light, we get beautiful lights, small rays of light all over. If it is a dark room, it's significantly visible. He said, it is like that. Consciousness is inside. And this world, which is various mind and the body, they are getting different expression, but the consciousness is one. They are throwing different kind of lights and different kind of shadows outside. That is good and bad. But light, the consciousness within is one. And it cannot be soiled. It doesn't get soiled when the sunlight falls on something dirty on the road. It doesn't get drunk when it falls on a pitcher of wine or whiskey. It neither would get holy if it falls on river water. It is always pure, always enlightened. I had another beautiful realization. I was just thinking, if you look at it, it's the same thing. The moment we realize in the factor of the wave or a factor of a clay pot, take the wave or a gold ornaments, take the wave. The moment that realization comes to me that I am nothing but the water, I'm not a wave. Whether I am a spray or a wave, or I have calmed down and become one with the ocean, enlightened master, I know I am that consciousness, I am that water. Same thing, let's say, take a clay pot. A clay has now been appearing as a pot. Where is the clay? Everywhere. Touch the top, side, bottom, inside, outside. Everywhere it is clay and clay alone. So where is the pot? What is an appearance of the clay? If you break the pot, now the clay is an appearance of a broken pot. And if it was not baked, you can reform that clay into a platter, into a plaque, into anything that you want, a flower vase, whatever you like. So consciousness is like that appearing. Similarly, gold. Which is gold? The nose stud, the ring, or the bracelet, or the neck chain, or the pajab, or the tiara in the head? No, they are different presentation of the gold. Gold is appearing as a pajab or as a tiara, the bangle or a necklace, or the ring. Gold is one. And if you melt any one of them or all of them, they all become back into gold. All of us back into the same coming. And this is the focus, Daniel Coleman, the discoverers, philosophers, scientists of emotional intelligence, EQ, you've heard about a lot. Focus, focus, focus. We're talking about it. So coming back to now is to understanding how does the consciousness manifest in living and the non-living. This is what we have talked about. So the Brahman is the Advaita Brahman, and the existence and the consciousness and the Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda, is borrowed from Brahman. And this was the question. So the world is absolutely a world of manifestation of object. Subject and object. Subject is doer. Object is being done to. So a beautiful explanation. He's a Bengali philosopher. He's in Hawaii right now. I will remember his name as we talk about it. He's very famous. He's living right now. And Arindam Chakraborty, quite famous. You can Google him. Arindam Chakraborty. Arindam Chakraborty says, object is that which is experienced because of the subject. Anything is an object if it is experienced because of the subject. In our case, subject is the consciousness, and object is the world, the body, the name, the mind, the form, the anger, the love, hatred, dream, everything. And goes on to say, the world is the world of manifestation. Manifestation of what to what? Consciousness to that object. There were three questions. How do I know that the consciousness is within me? Second, how do I know consciousness is in everything? And the third, how do I know that it is the consciousness alone is the manifestation, the object? Three stages. So very simple. We had going over what we had talked about. Imagine the consciousness is the sunlight. Sun falls on the rock, on the pot, on the water. Let's say a garden filled up with the water jerry cans, filling up. Sun falling on the rock, it is heating up the rock. But you cannot see the sun on the rock. You can see the sun in a mirror. Mirror will get heated up. Also, it will show a little sun. So will the water pot. So some of these objects, consciousness is, basic understanding from this discussion, is in everything. There is nothing, in other words, Brahman is in everything. In other words, God is everywhere. How is God everywhere? Show it to me. And remember Prahlad said, yes, a father said, Hiranyakashipu, that is he there in this pillar? And he said, yes, and he kicks the pillar and there comes Narasimha Avatar comes out. God is everywhere. This is the understanding. And with this manifestation of the forms, name, and the function comes in. This is, we'll take on that. That's a huge topic called Maya. The Brahman through Maya manifests the name, form, and function. And resolving this into the, why is it that the consciousness is not manifesting through this table? Look at it, the computers. which I'm using to talk to you. You're using it to talk through the mobile, and it's very powerful. It can think much faster. It can connect to many things. It can experience light. It can experience sound and many other things it can do. You know all about it. AI, artificial intelligence, can do everything. But it cannot have a first-person experience. First-person experience. You go to the airport, you go to Phoenix Mall, door opens. Mechanically, it is sensed to, present, and it opens up. But it doesn't have that feeling of welcome when you open the door for your brother, sister, parent, or your husband or wife or children. I feel happy. When you're drinking that water in a cool tap in the airport, you're drinking the cold water, you say, so nice. That feeling is not there with the cold tap. This first-person experience, Google car and your car. You're driving, Google car driving. Maybe they're driving better. Maybe the computer is doing faster, better calculation. But that first-person experience is the consciousness. This consciousness is, you can see when you see the sun. Rock cannot show the sun. It has got the heating. In other words, consciousness is there, but it cannot reflect the sun. But the water can, the mirror can. Similarly, Jiva, living beings, can reflect in various degrees the consciousness depending on the life form. The plant also does, the tiny microbe also does, the little worm does, you and I do, superior human being. And with that, manifestation to the certain bodies and the minds is what we are talking about. So, common characteristics will always be existing, like this devil exists, chair exists, some of the name forms and everything exists, but the manifestation of the existence is not understood, it has to be realized. Meaning, it is not the wood which was a tree and now it is the wood and now it has become a table. It is the existence which was before a tree, the existence is presenting itself as a table now. Just like the gold or the wave of the water. And this, the mind, the intelligence, again, the Sukshma Sharira. You know, when the body dies, just like you see in the 7 chakras in going on, and this is the manifestation of the sunlight falling onto the water. You can see the sunlight. You can't see it in an inert object. But what happens to us when we die? This is what here is. Rupert Spira is on the right hand side with Swami Vivekananda and Shankaracharya, as you can see. They all are talking about the consciousness. Rupert Spira is he's right now, he's one of the very experienced scientist. He said just the other day that we all think, I am conscious being. He says, this is wrong. He said, it is not I am conscious. He is quoting to him exactly. He said, it is not consciousness in everything. It is not consciousness is in everything. He said, it is the consciousness appears as everything. So eventually I am nothing but the consciousness in this mind body form, or my husband or my wife, my children, or the mountain or the dog or the dolphin, everything. And it goes ahead and says, primarily, we are consciousness and you are consciousness, and that consciousness has a body and has a name and has a form. This is how powerfully Vedanta is telling us. Vedanta going on, there is consciousness, and in that there are plants and animals and the bodies and etc. How do I know that the consciousness is in everything? Rupert Spira again is talking about that. You look at, it is not that the consciousness is in everything. It is that there is consciousness in plants and animals, and it gets worse when, let's say, we die, our body dies. What happens then? Over here, it's talking about, I am a consciousness, in me appears everything. Just see, understand it, simple. Sounds confusing, it's not. If I am unconscious, a coma, it cannot appear in me, the world, the people, my friend, my relative, they become dead. To me, they're alive and very much there. But because I cannot experience, they do not exist as far as I'm concerned. So the existence of the Brahman goes away. The Sat Chit Ananda goes away. So he's going on to say, let's like, it is like if you experience in which you say, consciousness is not like a table in which I put a clock, or it's not like a bowl I put some nuts and chocolates or something. He's talking about that you could think about consciousness like a movie screen. Movie is happening. Life is going on. You and I leading life, growing, getting poorer or richer, happier or sorrow, and screen is unaffected. Whether it is dinosaur or King Kong or Jurassic Park or a love film or a villain being chased by the hero, you can touch whatever it is while the movie is going on, or in the computer or in the mobiles. You're touching the screen. You're not touching the people. This is what the awareness you and I have to that consciousness is like the screen. Even better, is like a dream. In a dream, notice what is happening. In the dream, your body is there, and everything that is happening is appearing to you as an object in the dream. Why? How? Because of your mind. It is all stored up in the mind, which in turn is now playing it. And when you wake up from the dream, you say, oh, it was only a dream. Thank God it was only a dream. That mind has done it. What happens in the deep sleep is the next question which comes up. In the deep sleep, question was, how do we know we have consciousness? Why is the question first come into the mind? Because we only align ourselves with the mind and the name and the form. And in deep sleep, in the dream, I'm experiencing everything. Because I'm experiencing is object and consciousness, correct? There are objects, there are mountains and lakes, and I'm dancing, or I'm having a party, or having a kind of an experience of a forest or animal, whatever it is. So I have no doubt I have consciousness in my dream. I have my question, how do I know in the deep sleep? How do we know is because the mind has gone off to sleep. So the question has come up. Mind is not there in the deep sleep. Deep sleep, there is nothing. And even worse, when you go on to the Turiya state, you remember Jagrat, Swapna, Susupti, and Turiya. In the Turiya state, you have the seed in the Turiya, which comes in the deep sleep and represents to the dream and represents through the waking state. All three are representation of the Turiya. In the deep sleep, you are realizing that when you wake up, I had a wonderful sleep. You do not say that because I did not have any dream and I was dreaming and then I went off to sleep. So, excuse me. Thank you. And now I'm awake and I was dreaming and then I don't know what happened. So I must have gone on to deep sleep. When we wake up after a deep sleep, think for a second. Do you and I logically infer our deep sleep like that? We don't. We just say, with a smile or feeling good, or don't say to anybody, just feel ourselves. I had a wonderful sleep. I feel so fresh. I am fully charged up. This is even better experience in the dream or in the screen, on the television screen, that whatever appears in you appear to be different. And that is how we are experiencing this world. Your mind is experiencing whatever appearing differently than, let's say, your wife or your mother or your husband. They see the same object and more or less they see it differently because their perceptions are different. Going on to the borrowing the existence is how that tiny seed has the power of expression to grow into a tall tree. This is what happens when the human body or anything, when it dies. So what is happening, can you see this? There is Sukshma Sharira. We have physical body, Annamaya Kosha, which is because of what we eat. And then you got Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Jnanamaya, Anandamaya Kosha. And in the Sukshma Sharira and the body, physical body, once I die, my body is not going to vanish. Body will continue to, in other words, existence will continue in the body. Body is not going to go away. Existence continues to appear as the dead body of Robbin Ghosh. Have you realized you never look at the body and say, that is Robbin Ghosh, the moment the body is dead? Have you ever realized? Have you thought about it? Phenomenal, no? You walk in and say, where is the dead body? Isn't it? You don't say, where is Robbin Ghosh? So, that dead body is there. But the Sukshma Sharira, which contains the mind, it contains the ego, it contains the intelligence, it contains the memory, which in turn is the karma, which goes ahead, takes a new form and a new body. And this is why the ancient masters, they say, don't commit suicide, because the God's word has got a fantastic system. You kill this body because you're suffering, immediately there is a replacement. Your soul is supposed to go down and enter another body. And in most cases, if you commit suicide, you will have a worse body. So that's why they say, no, face the monkey. Remember Vivekananda's famous, face the monkey, don't run away, face the problem. And you will find the answer will come from the problem itself, and a beautiful answer in sorting it out. So manifested by all names and forms is the existence and consciousness, manifested by some name and form, which manifests existence plus consciousness. This is that mirror, the bucket of the water or the lake or the ocean. When the sun is reflecting, it is getting heated also. So the sun has got two properties. It's the reflection property, image property, and the heating property. Both are getting reflected into Jiva. So consciousness through the life form is experiencing the world. In the inert object, consciousness is there. Because it has got no Sukshma Sharira, you cannot experience their body. Going into in the Vedantic, all things appear in my consciousness. All things appear in the consciousness, not my consciousness. The moment I say my consciousness, it would appear. This is Rupert Spira is coming out, supporting what Vedanta taught thousands of years ago. Possibly they've been reading Vedanta, don't you think? And coming out with all these beautiful angles. Did you know? Uttishtata Jagrata Chadaivati Chadaivati, Swami Vivekananda's words, is from Katha Upanishad. It is what Nachiketa is talking about, and Vivekananda brought it for all of us. So the Upanishads have contained everything for all of us. Pick up a little habit of reading. You don't have to read those thick books. There are lots of beautiful, simple translations by various masters that you can easily access to. So, what is the relationship between you and things appearing to you? like the table and the clock, or like say table on top of the clock, or a bowl that we talked about it. This is what is happening in the dream state. The consciousness is in everything. Everything is made up of that nothing other than the consciousness. Everything is made up of nothing other than the consciousness. And at the end of the journey, it goes back into the consciousness. Consciousness ever prevalent, ever omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent that you hear. So we had talked about it. How is it in the deep sleep? The object that we experience in the deep sleep is blank because the mind is not there. And that's why we have the doubt. How can it be? That is just because of we think the mind is the consciousness. This is what the Western world is doing right now. We have a lot to cover. The Vedanta, that is consciousness and deep sleep, did not know anything. I really slept peacefully. Going into the seventh mantra in the Mandukya Upanishad, what is Turiya? Next time. You have any questions? We are exactly on time. Just 12 o'clock. Tell me.
Sir, there is a basic talking about dead bodies and consciousness. Is it right in assuming that the consciousness is one, there is consciousness in everything, and consciousness is ever present all the time? What happens, I'm talking about a transitory period when a body is dead. The consciousness has to be there, but the consciousness, we say that the consciousness has left the dead body. So it is like kind of contradicting. When a body has just become dead, it is not able to move, but there has to be some kind of consciousness in that dead body.
You see, a very good question, very good doubt, but repeat your question again, exactly the way you thought about the question. Rajit, please.
Yeah. So see, it comes back to what is consciousness? Is it a single consciousness or is it multiple levels of consciousness? Because see, when a body becomes dead, okay, and the body is not able to move anymore, so it means that the consciousness is driving the body. Now, when a body has just become dead, but the consciousness has to be present in all, we say there is consciousness in a stone, there's consciousness in a sofa, there's consciousness. So even when the body becomes dead, what is, I mean, I know I'm not able to frame the question properly, but
Yeah.
Is there multiple levels? I mean, is it that the individual consciousness and one consciousness? So when the body becomes dead, that individual consciousness is going away. What happens? What is exactly happening when a body becomes dead?
Yeah, you have come back to thousands of years ago. Charvaka expressed this opinion, which in turn later on were talked about by Sankhya philosophy. In this Sankhya, there are many consciousness, there are many Purusha, there are many Prakritis, and everybody is separate, This is what I touched upon today. So culminating from that discussion to this question, it is a very genuine question which will come into for all of us in the beginning of the journey, that yes, consciousness is everything. Consciousness itself is borrowed from the Brahman, which in turn is borrowed existence. The existence is also with the consciousness is how we are experiencing the world. So now, what happens to the dead body? Dead body is also made of the consciousness, meaning just like as you said, stone or the table or the rock has consciousness in it, but it cannot be experienced now. But the consciousness which has made the Sukshma Sharira and the dead body. It is now the Sukshma Sharira has left the body. Consciousness is not, it is appearing as, let me give you an example, like, if I may say, take the ocean. The wave has become calm, and the energy in the wave, which had, let's say, become like a water spray, it is there in the water spray. It is still there, but we will say there is no wave. The body continues to exist, meaning existence of the Brahman is representing to the body till we, those 108 plus element, we disintegrate by whatever means. But the consciousness is there in that body, certainly. Consciousness is also there in that water spray, in that cloud, in the sea scenario, ocean scenario. So consciousness is in everything as one. Body is different. That body is different. That Sukshma Sharira is different. But the consciousness is one in that as well as this. Take it, Rajiv, as an example in the clay pot. Bottom of the clay pot, side of the clay pot, top of the clay pot, you understand it. Look at it as a gold, the bangle, the jewel, everywhere it is the gold which is present. Now, what we are trying to, what is your question? You know, why the doubt comes to you and me? Because we cannot experience unless we objectify something. You understand? Why our difficulty is in, where is that consciousness? Is it many, meaning one is in the dead body and one is, which was Robbin Ghosh, is now gone into the Sukshma Sharira. We want to objectify, but the consciousness is not an object. It is the subject. Subject is the doer. Object is the being done to. So these are all Sukshma Sharira, mind, love, hatred, experience, samadhi state. They're all experiences. But the knowledge, which is of the awareness of the consciousness, is only one. So if you look at it, understanding to the object angle, why the question comes to my mind? Same question comes to everybody. It's a very good question. We cannot objectify the subject. The moment we do that, we make a mistake. And that's where the Sankhya philosophy comes in. And I gave you the argument. They said, if consciousness is one, then when my guru has learned everything, I can also learn, just tap into it like a hard disk computer. You can't, because it is guru's mind which has learned. And mind is different than the consciousness. And my mind, which has not done the work and has not learned, I cannot tap into it just because consciousness is one. Consciousness oneness is, it cannot be exemplified by a material like an ocean or a gold, but it can give an example. You know, like it is called, in Vedanta, they call it, beautifully explained that, Rajiv, we call it as inference. For example, I see in the kitchen smoke. So when I see the smoke, I know there is fire. Now I'm driving and I suddenly find there is smoke in the hill. So I tell my husband, my wife, hey, there is fire in the forest. This I have done inference. So these inferences are not objectified, but it leads to that. So it is more of questioning, shravanam, listening, mananam, which is that impossibility, asambhavana, goes away. It appears as there are many, but it is not. The truth is, as per the Advaita, consciousness alone is one, Brahman alone is one, God alone is one, Ishvara is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahman. Satyam is existence, Sat. Jnanam is the Chit, is the consciousness. Anantam is Purnattam, is one, Ananda, is completeness, is Brahman, is the definition of Ishvara, God. Taittiriya Upanishad is the definition of Brahman, is the definition of consciousness. Brahman and consciousness is one. It's the same thing called awareness. And this is what I'm very surprised to see how much of study they're doing it today. Rajiv, it was Rupert Spira, even Thompson is writing in that Waking, Dreaming, Being. He's talking about being from waking is our Mandakya Upanishad, Jagrat, Swapna, dreaming, and Susupti. He is not talked about the deep sleep. He's saying being, that being one, being is the consciousness, being so much. And he is using the statement there. Beautiful statement, and it answers something like yours and my question now, is being aware of being aware. If you reflect on it, meditate on it, I am being aware of being aware. I'm being conscious of my consciousness. And that consciousness is the oneness. The moment I break it into parts, like a Sankhyan philosophy, it brings separation. And this is the beginning of the suffering. I hope it answers your question. Let's do some more reflections. Yeah?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure. Jai Guru. Any other doubts? Beautiful thing. We are planning to, everybody should be shortly starting the Sunday sessions. That a little bit of clarity comes in. What are the other missions doing? Why says Ramakrishna Mission, Sadhamad, and then we shall go ahead and start again having the face-to-face, F to F. Jai Guru. Om. Akasha Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Manaha Shanti, Chitta Shanti, Vayu Shanti, Jalaspataya Shanti, Apniyaya Shanti, Gau Shanti, Uttaradisha Shanti, Dakshinaya Shanti, Paschimaya Shanti, Purvadisha Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. At your own position, rub your palm rapidly, feel the divine energy with the congregation of the divine Atman souls, the consciousness, Brahman, in each one of us. It's collecting, collating the energy, and with the Omkar, we send it off to heal everyone, our neighbors, our relatives, our friends, our family members, and everyone who's suffering in this universe, and those who need more of joy and ananda and peace. Om. Check. May all be protected by the Divine Mother, Krishna, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Babaji, our Guru Devas. Check.